projectile when you have a higher attack rating than they do, or an ignore defense designation on one of the affixes of your gear or weapon that you have this applied to. When attacking that target, initially you bypass them with defense and you'd be more accurate, more likely to strike them with the ability when you target them. Deadly blow will increase the damage that you do to a target once you apply this to them by 50%. Crushing blow can be applied up to 5 times, each time increasing the damage that that target receives from you by 10%, up to a total of 50%. Open wounds is essentially a rend ability that's applied as bleed damage. It's going to convert 20% of your physical damage into bleed damage into the target. Open wounds, crushing blow, and deadly blow could all be applied at the same time. Defense. This defense, when it's talking about it, it's not magic skill damage defense or anything like that. This is purely defense for your physical attacks. So anything that's physical in the game, if it's elemental, like lightning, cold, and so forth, then defense would not have a resistance to it. Defense per levels, which your defense will increase per level as you're leveling, and your designated equipment will tell you what you have to gain per level from that for the defense. Increased block rating and chance to block attacks. So some archetypes in the game have this built in. They have something like an invade or an invasion or increased chance to block attacks or their block rating overall. And so this would allow them to bypass and mitigate some of that damage DPS. Damage return. And damage return is if you were hit by attack, it will give you a designated percentage of saying that for every 10 damage you receive, the enemy receives 100 damage, for example. Physical damage reduction, this is just for the physical damage. Physical damage is different than the elemental damages. So there are, there's only these physical and the magical. So when you're talking about it in a sense, it's just physical, cold, lightning, fire, poison, and arcane. And physical being in a category of its own. That's physical damage reduction. Damage taken recouped as mana, or you can choose to take damage and incorporate that damage, and instead you're taking mana instead of life, or life vice versa. Instead of losing mana, instead of taking that damage, you would take a portion of it as your life or mana, and you get to choose if you have that option. Defense versus missiles. This is a little deceptive. What it means by missiles is projectiles. Same as you'd like to think of it as that mana is associated with energy cost. Well, so it is here, with missiles being that missile refers to projectiles. So if you're trying to get that defense. Faster hit recovery. This doesn't apply to things like you being frozen in place, but faster hit recovery ultimately means you gain control of your attack. Your ability to attack or to move out of the way after being hit. You gain recontrol your character. Defense percentage. This is a percentage of your overall defense that could be increased by. You could say on your gear, increase defense percentage by 50%. Magic damage reduction. This is overall any magic damage reduction that you might get. All damage reduction is specifically reducing all reduction from all sources of elemental damage, as you see here, fire, cold, poison, so forth, from all those sources. You could also, if you have one of these prefixes such as absorbed on it, then the absorption would take a portion of that damage and absorb it, and you would only receive a portion of the actual damage that you were hit by. Fire resistance, poison resistance, arcane resistance, that all works the same throughout here for fire, lightning, cold. And these are your resistances to that magic damage, and so every time you get hit, the damage overall is reduced. When it says all resistances, this just gives you increased percentage of resistance in all categories of cold, arcane, lightning, and so forth.